Welcome to part 2 of my series, The Quantum Odyssey. Let's recap some of the key points from part 1 before I overload you with more quantum quackery. 1. Mass and energy are interchangeable. 2. If mass and energy are interchangeable, that means that mass is energy and energy is mass. 3. We cannot reverse entropy. 4. All energy comes from atoms losing their mass. 5. An atom in isolation does not lose its mass. 6. Energy is immaterial, consisting only of information. I learned by repetition, so I need to reiterate that energy is immaterial. Nobody knows what it is. We know how it's made. We can categorize it into different types of energy, but we still don't know exactly what the heck it is. It just does what it does. But according to my last video, energy can't exist without interactions, and interactions can't exist without motion, and motion can't exist without time and space. They all work together, coexisting together. If you subtract one from the other, whether it be energy, space, or time, we would be left with nothing. Not only would nothing exist, but there would be no past, present, or future. If you haven't already thought about it, please do so now. These are great meditation points that could bring you a brief moment of Zen if only you'd empty your mind of everything except this paradox, that the universe could not exist without the three fundamental concepts of space, time, and energy. If one were to not exist, we would have no past, present, or future. And this isn't just a philosophical thought experiment, but it's a factual, scientific one. This brings me to the understanding that the concept of nothing never existed. It couldn't have. There was always something. When people talk about the Big Bang, they may say something like, the time before the Big Bang. This is an oxymoron. Why? Because time didn't exist before the Big Bang. If you try to bypass this conundrum by leaving out the word time and say something like, before the Big Bang, this too doesn't make sense. Technically, there was no before either. So if time didn't exist before the Big Bang, if there truly was nothing that existed before us, how then did it start? If time didn't exist before the Big Bang, where did everything come from? I will tuck this question aside and build up to it. In today's video, I would like to discuss energy as information and that information is meaningless on its own, just as energy is meaningless on its own. The standard definition of energy is the capacity to do work or produce change in a physical system. In other words, energy by itself could be considered meaningless if not in relation to a physical system or context. Energy only has meaning when it's associated with how it affects or interacts with matter, fields, forces, or other physical phenomena. It's not a substance or thing you can point to directly, but rather a property of systems that describes their potential to cause change or do work. The standard definition of information is facts or knowledge provided or learned about something or someone, which means information, just like energy, is meaningless without context. It has no value on its own while not actively interacting with something other than itself. Just as an atom in isolation remains frozen in time, information, too, can never die. Energy and information can only be brought into being by and from definition. Without that, there is no other. Without black, there is no white. Matter and antimatter define each other, and it's through that definition that makes them real. Now, throw that on the back burner for a while. I'll bring it up again later in this video. To elucidate the notion that energy is context, I'll have to do so in a way that may sound off topic. Just hang in there while I try to navigate you through these abstract thoughts. Certain concepts can only be grasped emotionally and not intellectually. I always enjoyed journaling and self-reflection. This is especially true during my teen years when I found myself on the quest of self-discovery. I'd taken my pen to paper and hovered over the blank canvas, searching my soul for who I was. And what I found was nothing. I was nothing. I still am nothing. There was no me, nor has there ever been. I tried harder, searching with my arms stretched out in front of me, feeling around in the dark, trying to feel for something, anything, but I only felt the blank canvas. I felt nothing. Before I let myself fall into despair, something in me sparked awake. One saving grace thought that lifted me from the void. And that is, I knew who I didn't want to be. Not only did I know who I didn't want to be, but I also knew who I wanted to be. This is where our power of conscious choice stems. Not in creating something from nothing, but by chipping away at what already is. If I'm right, and we are born as nothing, it behooves me to believe that this proposed nothing is in actuality undefined everything. We are born onto a clean slate, and still we are clean slates. The clean slate never sullied or mired from everyday wear and tear. Every day is newly minted, a spotless canvas in every moment. What I'm trying to say is that we are not born into a persona, nor can it be created, but molded, and it can be reshaped every day. What I'm trying to say is we are created through definition, by comparing ourselves to other people. I know it's not politically correct to judge and compare, but honestly, guys, this is how it's done, and I'm okay with that. I really like myself most of the time, and I'm not really judging. I'm more like observing what I like about a person and what I don't like. Now, let's get back to the science stuff. Energy and information cannot be created or destroyed. It is both nothing and everything, neither here nor there. You can't add to something that is already everything. You can only chip away at it, defining it into being. Since the beginning of time, the universe defined itself, using energy as a way to chip away and define each of its components in a way that harmonized within the system. Explosions and nuclear reactions are but a means to find harmony, to release the unneeded energy, chipping away the particles until the element is found and stabilized beneath the chaos. Energy is a byproduct of opposition. But why is the universe set up this way? How are we, as human beings, also set up in a similar manner? These concepts are very hard to grasp on an intellectual level, but I'm hoping you'll be able to feel what I mean through the use of emotional connection. Spoken language, I feel, limits our understanding by limiting our thoughts and ideas to structured, communal, pre-existing notions, while emotions, on the other hand, contain none of these constraints. That being said, let's delve deeper. If information is nothing, then how do we know it exists? This might seem like a stupid question. The answer is obvious to most. We perceive information through our senses. We know it exists because we can perceive it. Information doesn't exist without context, and you can't have context without perception. The human body perceives sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and touch. Our brain processes this information in a way that ensures our survival. So we, too, can harmonize within a system just as atoms vie for harmony within their system. It's easy to understand how our senses perceive information, but what about a particle? How does it perceive information? Or does it perceive anything at all? It certainly knows how to react to information. As we can see these interactions play out, we can calculate the probabilities of these interactions within a margin of error. Particles react to information. They react accordingly based on what information they contain and what information is presented to them. These are things we can measure. What we can't measure is how one particle can exist in two places at the same time. We can't measure superpositioned particles, but we have proven their existence through multiple experiments. Science fails to explain how a measuring device can break down the quantum wave function such as it has been shown in the double slit experiment. Nor can science explain quantum entanglement. With that said, how does a particle perceive its surroundings? How does it know when it's being measured? We currently lack the technology and knowledge to understand how and why particles react while simply in the act of being observed. It's as though they contain a sixth sense or hidden knowledge that from our limited three-dimensional space we'll never be able to see. Think about it. One particle, untouched and alone in a vacuum, can split into multiple positions to form a wave, and upon observation, that wave collapses back into its original form of one particle. No other outside force influenced its behavior, only the act of observation, which leads me to believe that, like us, a particle too can perceive. It's somehow able to mechanically process information and act in accordance with the laws of probability and quantum mechanics. Although it's not self-aware, it does contain a type of fundamental perception, if only that perception is in the form of quantum entanglement. This is not the same perception found in living organisms, but a broader perception encompassing the particle's surroundings as though there is no separation between it and its habitat. I'm not the only one who thought of this. It's a real thing called decoherence. Decoherence suggests that when a quantum system interacts with its environment, such as photons, air molecules, etc., the system's superposition states become entangled with the states of the environment, effectively collapsing the superposition and making it appear as if a measurement has been made. This means, technically, if you really think on it, everything in the universe is in the perpetual act of decohering its habitat. Do you know what this means? Do you? No, I'm really asking because I have no idea. Now stay with me. I'm about to get elbow deep in something fierce. What if everything, and I mean everything, are information processors? It's not too much of a stretch. I understand that particles don't necessarily process information in the classical sense, but they certainly react to it, and the processing part is found in how they react. It's as though their mutual decoherence is an agreed upon outcome. They acknowledge one another's existence, and it's through that acknowledgement they are able to exist. Remember earlier when I mentioned information is nothing on its own? This is proof of that. A superposition particle exists in many states simultaneously until it is observed and or acknowledged by something other than itself. I know that all this is very hard to understand, and I can barely explain it or understand it myself, but I assure you, this is all very possible in the realm of quantum mechanics. I'm not breaking any laws of physics with the assumption that all matter can be seen as information processors, little encoded machines that process information as though they are computers. They run on code. Look up the fine structure constant and you will see. I'm going to end this video here and preserve what's left of my sanity. In my next video, I'll delve a little deeper into time and consciousness. These videos should be watched in sequence because we can't theorize about consciousness without first learning about energy and quantum mechanics. Till next time, until next time, stay open and amazed.